It's August 28th. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and not so gentlemen. My name is Ryan, and this is the Insomniac by Choice podcast. I'm glad that you are here. What in the heck is going on? First of all, if you're not aware, I am currently living in Jacksonville, Florida. I've lived here almost my whole life. Pretty much my whole life. I've moved around a little bit, but not really outside of Jacksonville for too long. With that being said, all this crazy stuff going on in the news, apparently a shooting, racially motivated shooting. You don't even need to read the article or click play on any video that's in your feed right now because it's plastered all over the title. That's usually what happens, but I will say this one is different than the shooting that happened here in I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it happened at the Jacksonville landing. If you're from here, you know what I'm talking about. They had a video game competition at this place that's down on the river. A guy lost, I guess he lost the tournament that he was in the finals for, went outside, got a handgun, had multiple magazines, came back in and killed a lot of people. Just so I don't disrespect anybody, I don't know exactly how many. I know it was it was more than 10, including himself. I was with family when that happened. I remember that happening. That was during the rash of shootings that were going on and building up before 2016. One thing I noticed about 2016 and beyond is there were shootings. There were a couple shootings, matter of fact. One that sticks in my memory very, very, very strongly, which was the Las Vegas shooting. And if you paid any attention to that and what was going on around it, then you know that we definitely weren't given the straight story on that. The man they claimed that did it all was clearly a patsy. It really doesn't take too much of a scholar to figure that out. But hey, that requires you doing your own research. It requires you thinking for yourself, which these days, I'm telling you, it is a rare commodity. So out there in your life, if you have people around you that that can think for themselves, then band together is all I can say, because we are becoming a very rare commodity. Anyway, so back to the shooting. Apparently, there's been another shooting. They never claimed or had a outright motivation for the other shooting. So the the previous shooting I was speaking of, because there wasn't one, so they jumped straight into just getting rid of the guns. This one here is clearly racial. They are not even letting you hear about it without race being a part of it. Now, I'm not here to say that race is not a part of it. I personally know somebody who is extremely creditable, who knows the individual personally. They don't hang out, but this individual knows the alleged shooter of this most recent shooting here in Jacksonville. And from what I'm told, what happened, what he allegedly did, comes as no surprise. Take that for what you will. I do not know the man. I want to know the man. And I just find that interesting. There And this situation doesn't seem to be any uh, finagling for the race baiting. They got exactly what they wanted, thanks to this individual who is ignorant and did what he did. So, what's causing all this? I'm not necessarily talking about the shooting here in Jacksonville. I just saw that on the news, so that's what's on the front of my mind. I'm talking about people who will literally throw their life away and throw everyone's life away around them over seemingly nothing. But these grandiose manifestos seem to be released or not released, whichever is the most politically motivating for the controlling party at the time. But it's all for nothing. What's really going on here, man? I'm 42 years old. I lived through all of my elementary school, middle school, high school, and at the last, I believe the second to the last, maybe year of my high school, the Columbine incident took place. And from my perspective, you would have to understand that at that time, nothing like that had ever happened before. Ever. It was unprecedented in the manner in which it took place and how many people were able to watch it take place through the media and the media's influence on your emotions after that. And since then, if you wanted to put it on one of those fancy little charts, it would look like a hockey stick as far as how many shootings we have that rival the Columbine shooting or are way worse. The quantity at which they are taking place has reached what seems to be a feverish pitch. Or is it? Information, the way it's released, can be deceiving. That's not really what I want to get into and talk too much about. I just thought it was interesting because it seems around the same time, because the previous shooting at the Jacksonville landing back in, I believe it was maybe 2015 or 2016, the end of 2015, somewhere in there. It's roughly the same time frame as far as elections go. Not to mention, that's probably a lot while we're seeing COVID come back. Yeah, not so much. Anybody that falls for that crap again, I mean, if it wasn't obvious, I thought it was great the first time around, because in like one of these games that the video games where they have the player's tag name above them, there's a little flag that runs around on top of the person that's your character in the game, and it tells you exactly who they are and what team they play for. And during the first go around with COVID, seeing people wear masks religiously was one thing, but especially when you saw the guy wearing his mask in his car by himself, that definitely told you he was on a special team. I didn't mind that too much. So, anyway, all these like shootings and everything, they seem a little too inextricably linked to who is in leadership. And yeah, so that's all I'm going to say about all that. But have you guys ever heard of like skull to brain technology? SK2 or anything of that sort? It has a lot to do with, most people hear about it when they come across researching targeted individuals. It's a technology that's patented. You can find it. It's not a big secret, but the basic technology is that they have the ability to put basic thoughts into your head from a distance without wires, without even seeing you or looking at you. And these patents have been live for years, years. And when that's the case, that doesn't mean that they're not working on the next level. You know, like there was the transistor radio and then came the next thing, right? Do we still have transistor radios? Sure. But we have a hell of a lot more, right? So I guess kind of look at it like that. If they have the skull to brain technology where they can talk to you, insert thoughts into your head, and that technology has existed for a decade or more, that's a little unnerving, especially when you start seeing articles and commercials about how major corporations are learning how to advertise to you in your dreams. That's right. In your dreams. Look it up. Actually, a good friend of mine sent me a link about it, and it doesn't surprise me. Not one bit. And I think even that, as crazy as it sounds, I think even that is going to be something that if major corporations are using it on a mass scale, it's been scaled to the masses and it's free information for you to find out, then what is going on that you don't know about exponentially exceeds what you do. So think about it that way. Anyway, enough of getting freaked out, you know? But these are kind of things that we're going to talk about here. Uh, I don't see why not, because it all does exist, you know? Tell me the last time you opened your phone and you didn't say anything in a conversation with anybody about a certain idea or a thought or a person or a project or a purchase of something. Let's say you never thought, or let's say you never said anything about it. You just thought about it. How many of you have opened a device or gotten on your computer and then all of a sudden, there it is? Now, yeah, I get it. It's one thing when we all know our phones are listening and everything. What I'm referring to is something beyond that. A skull to brain, somehow a technology of using vibrations off of your skull. Frequencies. Frequencies. Things that would be called witchcraft 100 years ago or sorcery. But these are real things that do exist. Nations are vying for control over these things because of the power that they can yield through proper use. Use as in on what? On you and me. We are so close. We are so close. And I used to feel that way back in 2012. You remember the end of the world? I felt like at any moment, and I look back, I turn on the news cycle now for 5 minutes. Just go through Twitter, X, or whatever for just a couple minutes. And what I see, and compared to what I was even capable of seeing in 2012, it's the same hockey stick, the exponential rise, the exponential rise. So, personally, I think that there's going to be some new technologies that are going to come out in the next 5 to 6 years that are going to ultimately change the world forever. Not specifically referring to some end of the world beast system type thing, but its definite predecessor, no doubt. Look around, do some research, think for yourself. There's so much information out there. I've spent the past few years trying not to go crazy because of how much information is now available, and I love it. The internet is their biggest tool, but it's also their biggest weakness for now. So, how easy is it for them to gain control? Like, what is actually happening when they gain control of the ability to make you dream about something, their company, their brand? If it's being used on a corporate level, it's definitely a basic impulse. You don't have to count on it being down to the point of a scripted character meeting you in your dreams, but it's subliminal on a new level, is really what it is. So if it's there, it's just like math class, baby. Everything leads to the next thing. Remember that? If you missed a couple days in algebra, you were screwed because you had no idea what was going on. It kind of looked like it did when you were there 3 days ago, but it doesn't anymore because you missed 3 days of all this new steps. That's all this is. It's all just building the steps. All this technology. It's fascinating. Just putting this podcast together has been a pretty fantastic voyage, I can tell you that. You're talking to an old musician, and this is crazy. If this type of access to technology and capability and this kind of high quality recording equipment and just the value of condenser microphones for recording out there, like if you're a musician, the quality out there is unbelievable for the price compared to what I came up with. That would be the late 90s, early 2000s, 2010s is, but it's something else. So I don't, it's, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. So we've reached a place of complacency within the level of the technology. That's why we've collectively become kind of disgusted with the perfect example is that TikToker, nothing against her, but the yum, yum, that whole thing. We as a culture have collectively rejected that. So we kind of found the edge. So that just sense that means something else is coming. They're about to throw something new in front of you. The bowl of treats is kind of played out. They got to keep it going. Math class, baby. So this computer stuff is a lot like that. If you miss a year or two, man, it's tough. But anyway, this is going to be somewhat of a short episode. I'm just trying to get it out there and kind of get the tone of what we're going to be talking about. I really want to engage with you guys. I don't want to be just sitting here doing this. No interaction. You guys can contact me. All that good stuff. Let's do something great together. But I do have some guests coming, lining up. And not just all the same subject. Different people with, let's, say, for instance, we're going to have on a musician / producer who's local here, who also does other things, who has very interesting views. I'd love to interview this individual. Everything from that to people who've traveled the world casting demons out of people. Yep. So it's going to be cool, man. But it's a lot of work getting it all together. So I guess this is more or less just an update. We're up and running, ready to start making episodes. Just wanted to touch base. Again, I'm glad we're all here doing this, guys. First 5 episodes are coming, and they're going to be sweet. They give you guys plenty of something to listen to. Again, this is Insomniac by Choice Podcast.